Hey guys, so I apologize ahead of time. Today's the first day that I'm at my new site as a graduate assistant, and I've been obviously doing my inventory and everything else, and I met a few of the athletes and stuff today. I did put a note on my door. If somebody knocks, it means it's an emergency, so I apologize ahead of time for that. Hopefully we won't have any of those. But the purpose of this video today is discussing evidence-based medicine and what I've learned and how it applies to me and everyone else as a practitioner. And I want to start by discussing what I thought EBP was. Before I came to the doctorate program here through Indiana State University, I had no idea what evidence-based medicine was. I had learned behaviors from my colleagues that evidence-based medicine was, pardon my French, but the most difficult and pain in the ass thing they've ever done, and they don't understand it. Now, the key there was they didn't understand it, and I didn't either, so I just assumed that it was dumb, and I was going to keep doing what I was doing because other people do it and it's what works. But I don't need to follow other people. And throughout this semester, I had the opportunity to learn that evidence-based practice is all about the patients. Evidence-based practice is so much more than just looking at research. Evidence-based practice is not, one way that it was put to me is that evidence-based practice is a cookbook or a blueprint. It's not. Evidence-based practice, for those of you who have had it, is like jambalaya. It's a giant mixing pot of a whole bunch of different ingredients that makes an amazing outcome. Evidence-based medicine starts with coming up with a question. Many of you will learn this is through the PICO process. You come up with a question that you want to answer. Now, realize that you won't, what I learned is that you don't get an answer right then and there. You don't get an answer as soon as you come up with that question and start typing in a couple of things into your internet browser or going through Google Scholar. You have to research that question. You have to find the best evidence. And then you have to grade it. And it's a process. I apologize. I have some notes written for myself over here, and they remind me to stay on topic so that I can discuss everything with you. But once you define your question and you find some evidence and you grade that evidence, you have to apply it. Now, this is where I'm at right now. I've defined a question. I've found the evidence and I've rated the evidence. Now comes to my own application. How am I going to do this? How am I going to prove that X helps Y? Or that X is better than Z? Well, I can't prove that unless I apply it. And I have to do that in my own clinic. I'm sitting in my own closet here that's 10 feet by 5 feet. It's weird. But this is my space. This is my space to be able to apply my medicine, my evidence-based medicine, to take all the research that I've learned about and apply it. And then deciding if that was worth it. But you can't just say, well, yeah, it worked, or no, it didn't. It's so much more than that. You have to think about why it didn't work. Did you do something wrong? Was your question actually answerable? Was it broad? Was it specific? Was the evidence that you gathered better than you thought? Or maybe not as good as you thought it was? This is the portion that I'm still learning about. But I see the importance of it. I've learned how to define a question. And I'll tell you what, that was a challenge for me. Because I was being very narrow-minded. Sometimes that's a good thing. But you can't do that all the time. Being narrow-minded gets us stuck in the endless rut that we are in as athletic trainers. That's what's happened, is we've become narrow-minded. We need to think outside the box. So you form your question. I learned to form my question, and it was difficult. And even more difficult was finding evidence, because I hated searching through articles. I always got intimidated and was daunted by the fact that I would pull up an article and it was 24 pages and it was full of charts and graphs and things that I didn't understand. But I learned how to. And it was a process. It didn't come overnight. And I'm still working on that every single day. That is a challenge for me. Is finding the desire to read the evidence and understand the evidence, because it's taxing. It's tiring. But it gets easier the more you do it. So finding the evidence was hard for me. But I learned to do it. And then it came to grading the evidence, and this is still confusing to me. Because I can look at something and be like, well, I think it's this, but then somebody tells me, no, you're wrong, it's this. But then they explain it, and I begin to understand. And I see where they're coming from. It's a process. It's all about the process. People will tell you that all the time. Everything is about a process. Enjoy the process. Love the process. You may hate the process at the time. I hated doing this. I hated reading the evidence. But I love it now. I have a fire because I understand EBP. It means better patient care to me. It means that I as a clinician can be better myself. And it means that I can maybe take what I've learned and apply it to other people. And I can show them what I've learned through evidence-based practice, and then they can apply it. But then I'm going to change what I'm doing because I'm reading more evidence about it. And I would encourage others to do the same. And maybe I'm behind. Maybe I'm behind the curve. So EBP for me is progression. It's all about taking it to the next level. We don't become an expert by being complacent. We're always learning, we're always progressing, and that's what EBP is all about. It's about finding the best evidence. Sifting through, doing everything, and evaluating it, and saying, this works for this reason. Not just, it works, because that's what we do. Well, I put ice on it because it works. But does it? And if it does, why does it work? But would it work better with something else? Sure, put ice on it. But what about putting them in a cold tub and then having them move it? Move the body part. Does that work more? I don't know. You tell me. It's a call to arms. EBP is a call to arms. It is encouraging us to be better than what we are, to be better than who we are for our patients. And to me, that's everything. And I'm going to apply this. I'm trying to apply this. But that comes down to one of my personal questions is that I still struggle with is, how do I apply this? I know how to form my question and look at the evidence and grade the evidence. But how do I apply it? And that's personal. That's something I struggle with, and it's something that I can work through. And through the faculty at the DAT program, at ISU, I'm learning, I'm progressing, and I'm learning to apply my question and the evidence that I found and categorize and organize myself so that I can apply the evidence. That's my question. But it's a personal question, and it's one that I'm working through. But I also wonder why more people aren't using this. Is it because it's too hard? That's an excuse. Nothing in life is worth grabbing if it's not hard. We take the easy way out, and we don't progress. I'm proud of the fact that I have learned to overcome my fear of articles, research articles, real research articles that are full of numbers and graphs and charts. I was afraid of those things. And I'm proud of the fact that I am no longer afraid of those things, that I can look at it and be like, you know what, I'm going to break this up into bite-sized chunks, and I don't have to come up with an answer today. I'm proud of the fact that I have found that I don't need the answers now, that I can work towards them. But that's also my challenge, is I'm very impatient. And I want to know, does it work now? But I also still struggle sometimes when I pull up an article, and it looks daunting. It's not easy. Evidence-based medicine is not easy. But then again, progress was never easy. Nothing in life has ever been easy for those who are successful. Those who have made themselves into something from nothing. It was not easy. Somebody who is an expert in their field did not become an expert by being complacent or going through an easier route. They continually progress, they continually become better, and that's what I'm striving to apply in my own life, is to do those types of things through evidence-based medicine. Because I care about my patient. They mean everything to me. And so evidence-based medicine should mean everything to me. We need to care for our athletes as much as we care for ourselves. If we just slap ice on somebody, we don't care about them. I'm sorry, but we don't. If we just want them out of our training room, we don't care about them. That's why this makes a difference, because it's all about patient-centered care. It's all about improving yourself for the patient. This doesn't mean we have to give up who we are for our patient. It means that we get to better ourselves for our patient through all of the different things that I have just mentioned. And there's so much more that I could keep talking about. But I only have about a minute left. But I implore you, even if it's just you watching this video, Dr. Games, continue to progress and teach, because you have encouraged me. And if it's somebody else who's watching this, push yourself. Nothing in life was ever easy. Evidence-based medicine is not easy, but it's progressive. It makes us better than what we are. And that's what we should be doing as human beings, is progressing. This has been an amazing course, and I'm so glad to be a part of the Indiana State University Doctorate in Athletic Training Program.